Hi guys, Rex Upper War here. We're on our next trip. This time we're heading from Perranporth to Land's End, and we're going to fly over a couple of the local towns. So let's get up in the air. So as usual, we've got all the weather turned off so that we can see England bathed in beautiful sunshine. And the first place that we're going to head to is across the bay ahead of us and to a place called Mousehole, which is actually spelt mouse hole. So the origins of the unusual name seem to vary. No one has a set agreement of where the name came from. So some people say that it comes from a hole or a cavern that's in the cliff to the south of the town. There are some that say that it's a corruption of an earlier Celtic name. And then others that say that the name comes from a small brook which runs through the town. So excuse my pronunciations, but a lady called Dolly Pentreath died and was recorded as the last speaker of Cornish, and she died in the late 18th century. However, in 1777, a fisherman from Mousehole wrote a letter saying that he knew of at least 5 people in Mousehole who could speak Cornish. And the language survives to this day. In 1595, a group of 400 Spanish men, led by the commando Carlos de Amezquita, attacked the village. He razed nearly all of it to the ground. In fact, it was so destructive that only the pub remained standing, which thankfully is the most important building in any town or village or city. This was the Keigwin Arms, which is actually still standing. It isn't a pub anymore, but there is a plaque on the wall which says Squire Jenkin Keigwin was killed here 23rd of July 1595, defending his house against the Spaniards. It's mainly known for fishing. In fact, the whole economy of the village has revolved around fishing. The fleet fish for pilchards, mackerel, and it's known as, it was known as the centre of Cornish fishing trade. In 1913, the Penlee lifeboat station was built. Unfortunately, the most well known for a disaster. In 19th of December 1981, the lifeboat named Solomon Brown went to the aid of Union Star after its engines failed. The lifeboat managed to remove 4 people, but unfortunately all those aboard both vessels lost their lives. There is a celebration in the village called the Bowlcock Festival. The legend has it that During a period of heavy storms, fishing boats were unable to put out to sea, and the village became close to starvation. And then a man, whose name was Tom Bowlcock, braved the storm and brought back a haul of 7 types of fish. So due to this, the villagers were saved, and by way of remembrance, they celebrate Tom's deed on the 23rd of December every year, and they eat stargazy pie. And it's called stargazy pie because fish heads stick out of the crust of the fish pie, which, no offence to anyone who enjoys that, sounds absolutely disgusting. So we're just coming up to Mousehole now, just ahead of us there. Again, I'm in a different plane than the last one and the one we started out with. Trying to find an aircraft which is easy to fly, goes at a sufficient speed so these videos aren't too long, and I can actually land. Is a challenge, and making sure we can see as much of the area as possible. It's a good shot of the village. So as we sort of head to the other side of the coast now, we're heading towards Penzance. That's just another shot of Mousehole there. People will probably most have heard of Penzance due to the Gilbert and Sullivan opera, The Pirates of Penzance, which was written in 1879. It was actually found quite funny to the locals because Penzance was very popular as a very peaceful resort town. So the idea of it being awash with pirates was quite funny. Actual fact, in medieval times and later, Penzance was frequently raided by Turkish pirates known as the Barbary Corsairs or Barbary Pirates. These were actually Muslim privateers who operated from North Africa. They were based primarily in the ports of Algiers, Tunis and Tripoli. And they actually got as far north as Iceland in their raids. Extremely famous resident of Penzance, Sir Humphrey Davy, maybe not very well known by name, but what he did and discovered. Cornwall very famous for its mining industry, particularly tin. He actually invented the miner's safety lamp in 1801, saved countless lives. He's also remembered for isolating a number of elements for the first time. He isolated potassium and sodium in 1807. Also calcium, strontium, barium, magnesium and boron the next year. He also discovered the elemental nature of chlorine and iodine. In fact, he is said to have invented the field of electrochemistry. He also experimented with nitrous oxide. He found it fascinating that it made him laugh. He nicknamed it laughing gas. And he wrote and described it as a potential anaesthetic for pain relief. Penzance, also the birthplace of Maria Branwell, who was the mother of 3 authors or novelists you may have heard of: Charlotte, Emily and Anne Bronte. So now we're just heading towards our airport, which is Land's End Airport. Land's End is the most westerly point of England, but it is not the westernmost point of Great Britain, which goes to a place which I will horrendously pronounce as Coracagmore, which is in the Scottish Highlands. So there's some rocky islets about a mile offshore, and then with these, which are called the Longships, and then together with the Seven Stone Reefs and the Isles of Scilly, which are about 28 miles further on, they're part of the mythical lost land of Lyonesse, which is part of Arthurian legend. It's particularly connected to the tale of Tristan and Isolde, and Tristan was from Lyonesse, who was one of the Knights of the Round Table. Legend has it that Lyonesse committed a crime so terrible that God took his revenge in their kingdom, and it was lost forever beneath a tsunami. And there's many people who talk about whether Lyonesse did or did not exist. However, local Cornish people do take descendant from the sole survivor called Trevelyan, who was out riding in the day and fell asleep under a tree and woke up to discover his whole hometown destroyed. There has been architectural digs and studies into Lyonesse, but there's no physical evidence, although some local fishermen claim they've caught glass, forks and wood in fishing nets. They've also discovered walls out underneath the water near the Isles of Scilly. Just coming into Land's End Airport now. Hopefully this will be more successful landing than the last episode as we came into Perranporth. Bit fast. So there we go. Thank you again for flying with Regs Harperport Airways. In the next episode, we'll be heading back along Cornwall, heading up towards North Devon. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and I hope you'll join me again on my next trip. Thanks, guys. Bye.